When we were sitting here waiting for Andrew to catch up, I was like, I should say something to Zach. I was like, get fucked.
To be
No, I was like, I don't know, Zach's Andrew's friend, I guess.
oh, honey, we're friends too.
I'm glad, but I didn't know. I wasn't sure if our relationship was enough for me to be like, hey, by the way, you have a role.
You have work to do.
I watched you on Twitch at like 4 a.m., so I thought we were pretty good friends.
I don't stream on Twitch.
You were doing that 24-hour drawing thing. Fine, YouTube, whatever you kids call it these days.
Oh, you watched me at 4 a.m.? Thank you so much. I didn't know that.
We talked about it.
Oh, cool. I completely forgot about that.
Seth,
hey,
bail out.
If it makes you feel any better, Zach, I don't remember shit.
I have come on a mission of gravest consequence. For I am the Watcher, member of an ancient race far older than man. But though our power is great, we are pledged only to watch, never to interfere. But now mankind faces the greatest danger it has ever known. The danger of
the Watchers of Earth. 199,999.
Welcome to the Watchers of Earth 199,999. I am your host, Andrew, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Seth.
That's me.
Our third co-host, Joe, couldn't be here today because I didn't think of a thing for him because Stanley's not in this one. So replacing him is our fourth co-host, Zach.
Hello, everyone.
And our fifth co-host, who has been demoted now that Zach is here, Uatu, is here, but is sworn only to watch, never interfere.
Yeah, Uatu, stay on the moon. Hey, cut. Is it insensitive if every Joe intro is just like, but Joe couldn't be here today because he's dead?
Yes.
I thought so. But it tickled me. Today we watched Spider-Man Far From Home, which originally premiered July 2nd, 2019, directed by John Watts and written by Chris McKenna and Eric Sommers. Following the events of Avengers Endgame 2019, Zach, Spider-Man must step up to take on new threats in a world that has changed forever. So, Zach, in a sentence or less, what did you think?
I personally love this movie. Spider-Man is probably my favorite Marvel movie that they've done, just because he's the one character that I really like. So this movie was really fun for me.
Nice,
Seth,
nice.
In a sentence or less, what did you think?
Do you guys remember in Batman Arkham Asylum, the Scarecrow scenes?
Yes.
Yeah.
So did they.
Yes.
No, I liked it. I actually really did. I will get into it more, but I have a weird, like, I don't know. I'm like not letting, I don't know if it's a not allowing or not, or whatever weird thing. I'm not allowing myself to love this movie, but I don't have a ton that bothered me. I did, but I don't know. I was able to just kind of watch it.
I can't believe you're putting me in this position 2 Spider-Man movies in a row.
So, Andrew, why did you hate your favorite hero's most popular movie?
I didn't hate this movie. I did not like it the first... So, going with tradition, if I liked a movie the first time, there's a good chance I will like it less when we do the podcast. And if I did not like it, there's a good chance I'll really like it the second time through. Not always true, but it seems to be a pattern. I did not care for this the first time. I thought this time was a little better. I really don't like this movie. On paper, it is full of things that should excite me. In execution, it is everything I don't like about Spider-Man in the Marvel Universe. Everything I didn't like about the first movie, but magnified. I really don't like this movie. As a Spider-Man movie, as a Marvel movie, I think it's fine, and at some points, it's even fun. But I don't care for this movie very much at all.
I think that's fair. I will agree that I think your point about as a Spider-Man movie, I remember kind of just being like, I don't really need him to be in, I don't need to do like this globetrotting Europe thing. I felt the like Spider-Man stuff was a little too far removed from the Peter Parker stuff. But I don't know. I guess I probably know what you didn't like. And I
think everybody knows the main thing I didn't like.
The damn scroll reveal. But I don't know. It was fine. I didn't really have, like, the last 2 movies I've kind of been like, yeah, it's whatever. I'm so apathetic anymore. I'm dead inside. But this one, I guess I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. I'm so apathetic. It wasn't bad.
There's a spark of life in me.
There's, yeah, like, I'm I'm not dead. I don't know. It was fine. Do you have any last words before we make you talk more, Zach?
No.
All right, so we start off and we're...
So, real quick, Zach, before you were apologizing that you would be positive and we'd hate you for it, I feel like I have to apologize that I'm going to be bashing this movie you liked. I don't even know if I'll bash it. Like, honestly, I think it's holistically, I do not like this movie. Individual pieces, I like a lot of this movie. Individual pieces, I also dislike a lot of this movie. But I think it's the whole that I don't care for.
I mean, it really is just a filler movie. Like, there's nothing that really progresses the story or anything, but I enjoyed it, and the whole Marvel cinematic thing.
Yeah, it's a total epilogue.
Yeah, I can see why people say that this is the final movie of the Infinity Saga, but it's not. It is and it's not.
I actually disagree with you. I think this is a final movie of the Infinity Saga.
I feel like this is the first movie outside of the Infinity Saga, because I don't think it wraps anything up. I think it just shows the world after, which is what the first movie would have done anyway.
I think it does a decent job at doing fallout of what happened, which, I mean, yeah, I guess you could argue is the first movie of Phase 4, but I don't know. I think I like it here as an epilogue, and then you can just kind of do Phase 4 fresh.
I guess.
No, don't guess. No.
If that's true, I guess I don't remember when Black Widow was supposed to come out, but Black Widow is not the first movie of Phase 4 either, since it's...
Yeah, it is.
We'll talk about it when we get to it. So anyway... I guess, where do we want to start? Zach, where do you want to start?
8 months after the blip. Oh.
Start at the beginning.
8 months after the blip, in summer 2024, Nick Fury and Maria Hill arrive in the aftermath of what is supposed to be a violent sandstorm, which has destroyed a small village of Extento, Mexico. Fury state... Are you guys just going to let me do this?
I don't care yet. So, I guess... I don't know why I feel so weird just like talking through the plot on this one. I don't know why it bothers me so much.
Let's talk about Jake Gyllenhaal.
I think Jake Gyllenhaal is great in this movie. I like Mysterio.
Think he's fun.
Mysterio's one of my this is one of those like elements on paper that would indicate a movie that I would really like. I love Mysterio. He's quite possibly my favorite Spider-Man villain.
He is my favorite Spider-Man villain.
I love his stupid costume. I think this is
not in this. It's too MCU-y.
I guess I would say this. I think this is the perfect version of an MCU. I guess it's partially because Mysterio's costume is so simple. This is basically just his costume, just with extra patterns.
He has
on
like the cape with all the lights on it, and
yeah, I mean, like everything else, there's patterns all over it. But I guess it's not as egregious as like Doctor Strange having all that extra crap all over him. I think this one's
I don't know.
fine.
It was distracting to me. His like little undersuit, like Under Armour thing is like Mysterio's comic costume.
I love his movie magic at the end of the movie costume with the stupid dome. I love that thing.
Yeah, that's nice.
Where he reprises his role as Bubble Boy.
Yeah.
Here's a question. I don't quite get his, for lack of a better term, powers.
They're nonsense.
Because he complains, so he doesn't wear his suit in the second half of the movie when you realize it's all smoke and mirrors. Mm-hmm. And right after the first half of the movie, he's like, get me out of this cape. But then you learn that, like, his suit was smoke and mirrors.
I agree.
And I guess you could argue that he hates wearing the suit.
But
it was just kind of weird that he has, like, he has the weird, like, I don't want to wear the suit. Like, I have to wear the suit and I hate it. Get it off me. But then also use the photo, like, the hologram suit on me. Make a bunch of things, give me a hologram suit.
So I agree. I think that's more for an audience thing to really sell home the idea that like none of it is real. He didn't even make like an Iron. If he was wearing that suit, there'd still be points in the movie where you'd be wondering like, is he like actually flying around in an Iron Man suit and then everything else is fake? And I think physically not putting him in the suit really sells that there was literally nothing real happening. But like my problem with his powers is that they're complete nonsense and the rules change in the third act of the movie, and they show him after the reveal and everything. It shows him they're in that like abandoned building and they're basically like running through their script, and it's so fake that he even has a script guy telling him what the story is.
Yeah.
But they're running through a script, and like this is all like basically in real life CGI, so it all has to be pre-programmed. Everything is planned. There's nothing out of the blue. But then the whole Scarecrow version thing that happens at the end, and basically everything that happens at the end is all on the fly. And you can argue that like a lot of that stuff, like turning himself invisible and everything, that should be relatively easy for those things to replicate on the fly. But like that whole sequence where he gets into Peter's mind and shows him all this nonsense, including like aspects of his life and the suit that no one but the Vulture saw him wear. I guess there are YouTube videos of him in it, but still, that was all stuff that he had to have made up on the fly. They didn't plan for that because they only planned for the final act.
How do you know that?
Because we show them going through the final act. They weren't also like, in case Peter Parker shows up, here's this whole elaborate thing we got to do. They're planning their final heist.
Maybe the parts we missed were in that 3-hour cut. You never know.
Yeah. Maybe that's the extra hour.
That's what brings it all together.
So then I'm going to make my giant fist punch Peter, and then...
Release the Watts cut.
And then 59 more minutes.
Let me see
Peter Parker say fuck. I think it was 2.5 hours. I just saw 150 and my dumb lizard brain was like, 3 hours? I'm not doing that. Apparently there's a whole stuff in New York that we missed.
Oh.
On the cutting room floor. I don't know. That didn't bother me.
Yeah, the time travel didn't bother you in Endgame either, so we have different priorities and different hills that we die on when it comes to movie logic.
What time travel?
You know what? I don't even know if you genuinely don't remember that there was time travel.
Genuinely don't remember.
You really don't remember that 90% of the Endgame movie was time travel. We watched this last week, Seth.
Guys, don't fight in front of me, please.
This is are you doing a bit?
Vaguely. No, I vaguely remember you when you said that. I was like, okay, yeah, maybe we did. Maybe we didn't do anything. You went on a conniption.
No, I'm saying we watched the movie last week with time travel.
Yeah, and then you went on like an hour and a half conniption.
Yeah,
how time travel. Okay, it's coming back to me. You were going to say something, Zach. You're going to bring us back to this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask what your guys' thoughts were, because you were mentioning that he hated wearing the suit. There was that whole subplot where he had that lady ironing his cape for like 10 minutes. How do you feel about that?
That's because he physically was going to wear the suit if he met the Queen.
Yes.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, I was fine with that.
That stuff was fine. I'm trying to remember. I honestly don't really remember the beginning of this movie very well. So we open up with the elementals.
Video.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So, okay.
The memorial video is funny, but it's also set the wrong tone for me because I think it's funny in a different movie. In this movie, it's stupid and it's too, like, self-aware.
In the first movie, they have that, but it's kind of in the background.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in Homecoming, they kind of do the same thing, but it's not the first shot of the movie. It's not as long. I agree with you, Andrew, that it felt a little too self-aware. It felt a little too, like...
I like the joke that they had, like, pictures of Iron Man and Captain America, but the only Black Widow picture was from her, like, Senate hearing, and the only picture of Vision was kind of grainy, presumably from when he blew up an airport hangar. I think that's funny. I also think, however, that the Avengers would have had publicity photos or something in the time that they were a team. Like, the movies want to pretend that, like, nothing really happens with these movies, but also, like, they're a huge team. They have action figures of themselves. If there is a Hulk action figure, which we know exists, I forget which movie, but we see it in some of these, that these guys have action figures, you would think there would at least be a picture of Vision somewhere, where they show up and say, like, these are the Avengers, the team that everyone knows of. It's not like they're going off to their secret base and hiding out.
But yeah, I agree with you that it's maybe a little too on the nose. It's something that, like, if I saw it on YouTube, I'd be like, yeah, this is goofy. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like the 3-minute start of my movie. I guess I'm just kind of like, we did this last movie.
It's not as bad, but I was going to say, it's not as bad as the first movie, but it's like the first movie where it starts off with that Peter just, like, frantically talking in circles with his shaky hand cam, and I was just like, ugh. But it's fine. We get a little bit of information about the blip, and how some kids disappeared and some didn't. Conveniently, everybody in Peter's class did blip out, except apparently Ned, because he looks like he's 45. Is it just me? Ned looks way older than everybody else all of a sudden.
I think it's you, unless Zach says something.
No, I think it's you.
I don't know what it is about him, but I looked at him and he just looks significantly older.
I think
than
you just took
everybody
this
else.
phone call and you're like, I hate this movie. I hate Ned.
This. I hate everything. Iron Man showed up and I saw red.
Iron Man was the first thing
It's
on the
more
screen.
it's more of a maroon, Andy. Come on.
I thought of you when they're in Mexico at the beginning and Jake Gyllenhaal shows up and then
he's like, fuck Tony Stark, he ruined my life. And I was like,
vanishes
get him, Jake Gyllenhaal.
No, he vanishes his helmet.
Oh.
And I was like, Andrew hates that. Wait, I hate that. So this is going really well, by the way. Okay, I want to talk about this, because we're not talking about anything. I don't like... You guys have different Spider-Man than me. Zach, you mentioned that Spider-Man's kind of your guy. I know that's Andrew's guy. I don't know how much of you guys cross streams. Spider-Man is a hero I like, but I'm not the resident Spider-Man fan. I will say, don't care for Aunt May knowing he's Peter, or Peter Spider-Man, but I do like when MJ knows.
I don't care in either direction as far as this movie is concerned. May knowing is fine. It's part of... For me, it's part of, like, the ending is interesting. The, like, end after credits thing with J. Jonah Jameson. I think his identity becoming public is interesting. The problem is, I don't think these movies actually care. They don't care about the fallout of May knowing. We come back to her already knowing, and it doesn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real fallout to anything, and for all I know, the next movie will deal with it.
I assume, especially since all the rumors are like Spider-Verse, I assume it's like mind wipe.
Yeah, I think the next movie is doing this whole like alternate reality or alternate universe stuff that it sounds like they're doing. Like, I think their thing is like, we don't have to deal with it. Like, we don't care. Like, everybody knows, so Peter goes to a different dimension for this movie. So that we don't have to, like, we'll probably get a half hour of it at the beginning, and then we abandon it.
Isn't the next movie supposed to be Kraven hunting Spider-Man from across universes?
That's what I want. That's not what they're going... Well, that's what I want from Spider-Verse movie, not these. I don't want these to go universe hopping. I don't want them to leave New York. I don't like all the road trip stuff. I don't know. I don't care for a lot of elements in this movie. I don't like that he doesn't... I wanted more Peter Parker stuff, and this movie is top-loaded with a bunch of Peter Parker stuff.
But it's all meaningless.
Yeah, and then at the end, it's like all Spider-Man stuff, and he wears the Iron Spider suit at the beginning, which is stupid, and it's in like some weird, like, fucking Ghostbusters ghost jail chamber in his room.
Oh, yeah. I wondered what that was.
Which is stupid. I don't like the Night Monkey suit. It's fine, but it's also like so obviously Spider-Man that it's just like, why even bother?
Yeah, I don't know why, as a hero who has been seen in multiple suits, especially like, I mean, I guess you have told me before that the world doesn't know that Civil War happened, right?
I don't know. I'm saying I don't know what the world knows. I don't know what they know about Thanos. They say that the Avengers saved them, but I don't know what Avengers are left. Did any of them say anything? Like, who knows anything? I have no idea. I have no idea what the world actually knows.
Because, yeah, when they were like, here's something, like, they're going to know it's you because you're just following school trips around. And he's like, okay, well, here, be in this black Spider-Man suit. And it's like, he's still Spider-Man.
Yeah. He's still shooting webs. He's still got the same powers. He's even got a mask that looks like Spider-Man with the same spider eyes. Like, at least change that. But it's got to be a Spider-Man suit because they want to sell Spider-Man action figures later.
Well, and like when MJ finds that drone, she's like, yeah, these are Spider-Man's webs. Like, it's very obvious to everybody in the surroundings.
Mm-hmm. And, like, I don't mind the suit at the end. I don't like red and black. I like red and blue. But it's a fine suit. There's nothing, I guess, wrong with it. But the fact that he builds it on a jet using super tech crap, like I've said before, I hate that shit. I hate Spider-Man being little Tony Stark, like teeny Stark. I hate it. It's stupid.
I did not like the glasses, especially, I mean, we didn't like the tech suit in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were maybe one of us was more warmed up to it with him dealing with the tech suit stuff.
But this,
again, this just felt so samey. Like, we've done this, of him being like,
well,
it's just a misunderstanding. You're not, like, doing what I need you to do because I don't understand the tech yet.
And I don't really understand, even logistically, like, why Tony would give that to him. I honestly think the reason that Peter believes when he gives it to Quentin is that he's not supposed to have it. He's supposed to figure out who should have it. Mm-hmm. Because there's no reason Tony should give him that. But also, why the fuck would Tony make a satellite that has, like, deadly drones in it?
Well, because remember, he made Ultron and that ruined the world. And then when he came back to Cap, he was like, maybe Thanos wouldn't have snapped everybody if I could have murdered everybody before he did it.
You can't get turned to dust if you're already dead.
If I turn you to dust, Thanos can.
Yeah, I don't care for a lot of this stuff. The Nick Fury stuff is whatever, but it's uninteresting. I also don't like that I understand the meta reasoning, but I even understand, like, Peter's reasoning within the logic of the movie, but I don't like that the whole first movie is Peter, like, you gotta take me seriously as a superhero, Mr. Stark. I gotta be the serious superhero. Let me do the super things. And in this movie, he's like, no, Nick Fury, don't make me do the super things. I want to have my fun school trip. And
I think
It feels like every movie's made in a vacuum, except for the parts that have to acknowledge the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so that's like this constant, like,
We have a guest,
push
Andrew.
and pull at the same time. Sorry.
No, I hated how anytime he didn't want to be Spider-Man, it was basically because, like, I want to hang out with MJ and kiss her, and it's just, that kind of feels lame to me.
Yeah, they didn't, like, we mentioned in the first movie that it feels more like a teen movie. This one, I feel like there's very, very, very little of it.
I mostly agree, but that's where I say I think the first chunk of the movie is all the teen stuff, and then it basically abandons it and turns entirely into a Spider-Man movie for the last, like, 2/3.
But is it all the teens? Is it like the John Waters teen stuff, or is it just a movie
School
with teens
trip?
in it?
I mean, yeah, you're right. I don't disagree. It's not really the teen stuff so
Like
much
the
as
coming
just,
of
like,
age teen stuff that I felt like was in Homecoming.
Yeah, this is just like school trip comedy movie for
Sex
40
trip.
minutes.
Did you mean John Hughes? Because you said John Waters, and I think that's an entirely different movie.
No, I thought Homecoming felt like a little Pink Flamingos. There was the whole egg bit. And,
Ned was eating
Yeah,
shit off the sidewalk.
yeah. But, it's the parallels of dressing up as someone you're not, and it's still there.
Sure.
Yes, I did mean John Hughes. Why don't we get a Spider-Man movie like as directed by John Waters? I mean, think about it. Craven if Craven was shooting milk out of his tiger nipples, that'd be awesome.
I don't like that.
Yeah, me neither.
You guys aren't familiar with that John Waters movie?
And nope, must have missed it.
Yeah,
There's like a weird thing. I'll send it to you guys later.
that's okay.
Nah,
Just send it to Zach.
you need it. You need it. If you want, you've probably seen it, Andrew, because they talk about it in Red Letter Media.
What do we think of the elementals?
They're whatever. I mean, they're not anything.
They are
Literally.
Hydro Man and Molten Man.
Cyclone and
Sort of,
Molten-
technically.
Yeah, sure, great. Yeah, love it. Yeah, it's there.
Like, it's stupid. I
They're
don't
not there.
like them. I don't care. They're not. I think the Mysterio twist is weird because the movie has to do it has to bend over backwards a lot to make it work in any capacity. Mostly because the elementals are there to be the villain of the movie, but they're not the villain of the movie. They're not even, like, pretending to be the villain of the movie. The movie
just
thinks
things
it
that
is,
happen.
but
It's
they're
like-
just there. Mysterio is so clearly the villain of the movie because no one else is, even if you don't know who Mysterio is. If you do know who Mysterio is, they have to do this weird alternate universe story just so that the meta story works, so that the fans in the audience might get tricked into thinking, like, well, maybe this is a heroic version of Mysterio, and maybe the villain at the end of the movie is a different Mysterio, like the Mysterio of this world. Or maybe he's just a hero in these movies, which no one does, but that's what the movie wants you to try. Like, it wants you to think, like, I don't know, maybe they're going to do a heroic Mysterio.
Yeah, I know. I never had that thought because when I saw this movie in theaters, I was just like, he's going to be the bad guy. And then when it happened, I was like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, no one's tricked, but the whole reason they do this alternate universe plot is to try and trick you. And I don't know. I find that kind of stuff annoying. I would rather he's just a villain, or if the movie just knows that I know he's going to turn and he just is what he is. Because it's so stupid and weird that they're doing this alternate universe stuff for it to ultimately not mean anything.
So I knew the twist. I quote unquote knew the twist. There was a moment where I thought, maybe. And that, like, what I thought I knew was the twist was just kind of like fan rumors or whatever. I watched it with a friend of mine, and I meant to ask him if he knew Mysterio and if he knew Mysterio was a bad guy and knew that this, if the twist caught him. But I agree. I would rather they just kind of, like, not deal with the twist.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you where I did sit through the theater and I just kept thinking, like, the movie can't think it's fooling me. And then I was like, but is that the twist? Is the twist that it really is fooling me and he is a hero? But, like, I never genuinely believed it. I just thought, like, that's the only way the movie could actually trick me, is if he really is a hero. And so I was, like, thinking, like, I don't know, is that more interesting for me? Is that what I actually want out of it? And I don't know if it is. I just know that I don't like, I don't know. I just don't like this lazy crap. And I feel the movie echoes the first movie a lot in a way that makes it kind of boring. A lot of the broad strokes, like you said, the glasses are just learning the tech suit again.
The student news was the same joke.
At the same point in the movie. The movie also opens up with here's something dealing with the villain that Spider-Man's not a part of. Cut to school news. It's got the same like weird sort of love plot going on. It's got the same twist with the villain. Like the villain has a twist. There's even like you gotta wear a different suit at the end of the movie. I feel like I don't know, it wasn't doing enough different for it to be worth my time.
And it's a sequel, and it's not like this is the only sequel that doesn't just like retell the original story.
Oh, absolutely. That's a problem with all of these is 90% of them are the same movie again. Some of them are the same movie again, but better. Most of them are the same movie again, but worse, or just the same movie again, but more. And I feel like this one is the same movie again, but worse. I just don't think it has anything to say or anything. Like, I don't feel like it serves a purpose.
I agree with.
Zach, however.
No, I was going to say something else, and I was like, I should touch on that. No, I agree with that. You always say that these movies are spectacles, and I think this is a spectacle. There's a lot of location shooting, there's a lot of special effects.
I do think the special effects mostly look good.
And maybe because it's Fallout, maybe because like I watched Infinity War and Endgame, and I'm just like, okay, it's done, and this is so far removed, and it's just kind of like dealing with some Fallout stuff. Some in a just like, we need to tell the movie, since it's part of the MCU, we need to tell the audience why we need to acknowledge it. But then I think there's an interesting story in the power vacuum of Tony being dead.
I agree, but I don't think this is a story.
I don't think this says it either. But I wonder if because of some of that, I complain about a lot of these movies as just kind of being like, I don't really understand what it's doing in the long term of things and stuff like that. And I think because of that, I was able to just kind of watch this as a spectacle, which it certainly is. And I might have been able to just turn my brain off more than I usually do. Because I agree. I mean, I think there's a lot of problems with it. I don't think it's necessarily like anything great. As I've been saying lately, I don't think it does anything offensive. And honestly, like, it's one of the few movies that I'm just kind of like, what's my put down? Like, is this egregious enough for me to be like, it's the put down for me? Like, there's things I didn't like, but it's just kind of like, And so I'm kind of put in a weird spot.
Yeah, I mean, I have very clear put-ups. And I did have a put down while I was watching it, and I honestly don't remember what it is now, which I guess is in the movie's favor. Like I said, the movie's not necessarily bad. I just don't like it. Which is, I will say, with a lot of these movies that we've watched, when I don't like it, I think it's because it's bad. I don't think this one's bad. I just think it's not good.
I'm not mad at it. I'm disappointed.
It's not good, but it's not really bad. It's
good enough.
It's misguided. It doesn't serve a purpose. Not that I need these movies to serve a purpose, but it literally has nothing to say. If it weren't for Mysterio, like, I don't think I'd care about this movie at all. I don't think it accomplishes anything.
It doesn't.
Like a lot of these movies, it hints at the power vacuum of a post-Tony Stark world, but it doesn't really do anything with it. I know that power vacuum is central to the plot, but it doesn't actually do anything with it. We don't see what the world is like without Tony Stark. We just see that without Tony Stark, Peter believes that someone needs to step into the Tony Stark role, and he gets the glasses. And, like, that propels the movie forward, but it doesn't actually tell us anything about this world post-Avengers. And I don't know what it wants me to think about Spider-Man. He doesn't, like, the movie, I feel like, has that bit at the end where he makes his suit, and it's like, he's coming into his own. He's not just the next Tony Stark. He's Spider-Man. But I feel like what the movie, like, that's what the movie thinks it's telling us. But I feel like what the movie is actually telling us is, look, it's Tony Stark 2, the second Tony Stark. We're playing AC/DC, and he's building a suit in the back of a jet using holograms. Get fucked, Andrew, specifically. You hate this. Well, boy, howdy did I.
They even do that part in the bus when he jumps out of the bus and then he comes back down and his hair's all blown up and he looks just like Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will say when he gives the glasses to Quentin, Jake Gyllenhaal, when he puts it on, he has his hair swept kind of the same way and he's got a beard that he strikes a pose. And I'm sure it's intentional, but I was like, he does look exactly like Tony. No wonder he gave it to him.
I'm sure it's intentional.
Mm-hmm.
I do think he sounds like Paul Rudd a little.
I don't know. Peter kind of comes off as an idiot in this movie. I know that's the point, is that he's too trusting, but I don't think he learns a lesson about it. I don't know if I agree
that he comes off as an idiot, but I will agree that I don't feel
he comes off as foolish.
He's definitely gullible.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's the point, but I guess my big takeaway with this movie is that it doesn't have anything to say.
Yeah, I think the big thing is what you did say, is that I don't feel Peter learns anything.
Mm-mm. Like I said, the movie wants you to believe that he becomes his own man and steps into the role of Spider-Man, not Iron Man. But I feel like the message of the actual, like, text of the movie is that he's just He's just filling in for Iron Man. He's here to be Iron Man while Iron Man can't because he's dead. And I don't feel like Peter learns a lesson. He doesn't learn not to trust. He learns that he has a superpower so that he can tell if someone's gonna trick him. And I don't know what the movie wants me to take away from it. And honestly, I could level that same criticism to the other movies. It's just, maybe it's because this one's Spider-Man and I hold him to a higher standard. I don't know. But for whatever reason, that is something that really bothers me with this movie.
I assume some of it's that.
Because, I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at my list and all the movies. I put it in my ranking. I'm looking at the movies above it, and I'm thinking, like, I think all these movies have something to take away from it. There's some kind of message, good or bad. It's in there. There's a clear message, and even one of these, I would say, there's a message in it. But moreover, it's just the movie's fun. But I feel like they all have something to say, big or small. But I feel like this one doesn't. It doesn't have any takeaway. I don't feel like Peter learns a lesson. I don't feel like he grows as a character. He just got a new suit and a new superpower that he technically already had, but he didn't know how to use. He learned how to use the superpower, which is also another thing that's kind of unclear in this movie. And
That's a weird one. I think my biggest takeaway from it is I feel it is 90% spectacle. I don't feel like there's a ton of interesting story. Some of it comes from, it starts off dealing with the blip, and then, like you said, there's no real... Peter doesn't feel like he learns anything. It has to kind of ham-fist this twist in. I just kind of, I think rarely... As I rarely do, I just kind of watched it with my brain off. Like, I don't know. The action scenes are fine, if not fun. I was surprised, I think, in the climax fight scene, I think I started to get a little headache. But I was surprised...
figured you were going to say that. I would say I was a little surprised how this final act, for as much as it is like entirely CGI, it's not as bad as a lot of the other ones. It's not as, I don't know, annoying.
Yeah,
it's not like the stealth jet that's like...
I think it helps that it's in the day. I think it helps, I think the camera is pulled out fairly decently, and so you can kind of see the surroundings. I think that's the biggest thing with the climax fight scene, is that you're following Peter swinging a lot, and that's where it was starting to get to me. I actually really didn't have a problem with the fight scenes too much. I thought they did interesting things. I definitely thought that this is what got Tom Holland the... Uncharted role, is watching him swing around things and run from explosions and things toppling and jumping on the little wooden sticks in the water. But I mean, they were all serviceable. It's just I didn't really have a reason to care, which is problematic. The high school trip wasn't all that interesting and just kind of did the same joke over and over. There was the stuff with, what was his name, Brad?
I think so.
There was the stuff with Brad that could have been interesting, but the movie didn't care.
This movie even throws in the chameleon and does nothing with him. He's Dimitri.
I wondered.
Yeah, I didn't know what you were talking about.
I didn't wonder when I was watching the movie, but when you said the chameleon, I was like, who could the chameleon could have been?
The bus driver,
yeah.
He's the chameleon. It's Dimitri, I forget, his last name starts with an S. He's Craven's half-brother. Anyway, that was like the first movie. The first movie, it was fun being like, ooh, I know who that is. Ooh, I know who that is. And then this one, I was like, I think that's supposed to be the chameleon, but he doesn't do anything. And then I looked it up and I was like, yep, that's him. He's the only one, though. No one else. The only other little bit of nerd trivia is the license plate on Fury's car when they're driving earlier said ASM for Amazing Spider-Man.
It said ASM 1568
for Andrew Scott Meyerhofer. And then Ned and Betty dating, they get married in the comics. So that was but that's it. There's not a lot even for my fan brain. I guess there are a couple. The Hydro Man thing, when he shows up, when they're talking about him the next day in the hotel, Flash reads something off of BuzzFeed about it, and that's the origin of Hydro Man.
He was a
I don't think they
BuzzFeed writer?
say. Yep. I don't think they even say anything about Molten Man. I just know that the Fire one was Molten Man, and that's with air quotes because he's not Molten Man. He's not even anything.
I think the Ned and Betty bit was fine, but it was just a bit, and it was repetitive. It was the same joke over and over, which, I mean, you can repeat jokes. It's just, there was no other substance there for me. Again, I was kind of interested in this, love triangle between Peter and Brad and Zendaya, but it's just kind of that's not a thing. There's the bit with the photo, in the bit at the end, I guess, after she's already in love with Peter.
I don't
so
even
who
think
cares?
MJ's really a thing. They only have like 2 scenes
Yeah.
that I can think of.
I mean, I think
And
the
she
scene
doesn't really do anything.
I think the scene where he reveals he's Spider-Man is good. But yeah, I mean, other than at the opera, that scene, and then at the end, I really don't think there's like a scene with him and MJ. And I think more of that stuff would have really helped it. And I think if instead of feeling like they needed to make this twist, I think they could have just let Jake Gyllenhaal chew the scenery like he obviously wanted to, been a comically mustache-twirling villain. You don't need to deal with the twist, and you can just spend more time in high school. Especially, like, have Pete fight over, like, I want to be on vacation. Like, I can't always be Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I think another thing that the movie just doesn't want to dedicate time to that is they have that one scene with him being interviewed where they ask him questions about, like, are you an Avenger? What happened to Tony Stark? Are you going to be the next Iron Man? And then he freaks out, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Which he shares in common with Iron Man because they do the same thing in Iron Man 3 where he gets asked by a kid if the aliens are coming back while Rhodey's in his ear going, those aliens are fucking coming. They're going to get you, Tony. And then he freaks out and runs out of a TGIF Fridays. And then we're done. He has Tony at least has like 2 other panic attacks that last 30 seconds. But
To be fair,
the
he
movie doesn't
has
really
a panic
care.
attack that lasts the whole movie. But yeah, I think they just don't really utilize their time well, and just a lot of missed opportunities, maybe.
Zach, what was it like hanging out with your brother? That probably also helped this movie, but is not the reason you liked it.
It was awesome because it's actually a big reason why I like this movie, because it was the first movie we had ever like seen together, and
Aw.
it was just it was a nice moment.
So it's hard. Yeah, you can't complain about that.
No, not at all.
What's your brother's name? Give him a shout out.
He's definitely not listening.
Oh, well.
But hi, Jeffrey.
No, you don't. If he's not gonna listen, then you don't.
No, Zach will make him listen.
Nobody's listening.
Hey-o!
Oh man, sick burn. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Zach, is there anything in this movie you want to talk about? Because we kind of did all the broad strokes. Outside of a couple things, I don't really.
I know it's because it's been a couple years since I've seen it. I had forgotten about the drone imagery, and at the very beginning of the movie, I had thought that monster was Sandman, and I was like, oh, I don't remember him being in this movie. And then it all kind of clicked again. So for a brief moment at the beginning, I was thinking I was watching an entirely different movie.
I wish that these were Hydro Man and Sandman. I love Sandman.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hydro Man's fine. Molten Man is also whatever, but I love Sandman. Flint Marco's great.
And then another question I had for you guys, because you guys seem to know more about like the comics and stuff. I noticed that there was that whole bit at the end where Flash, his driver, was picking him up at the airport, and he's like, "What? Mother couldn't be here?" Is there something behind that, or is that just like?
I think that is just for this movie. Is just like this is why he's a bully because he has a shitty home life.
Yeah.
Flash in the comics is my favorite Spider-Man character. I love Flash Thompson because over the course of the comics, he grows. He starts out as a bully who picked on Peter.
And he ends up as Venom.
He grows into one of Peter's closest friends, and then he joins the army because of Spider-Man, because he wants to be a hero like Spider-Man. He ends up losing his legs and coming back, and then ultimately he becomes Venom and then dies. But
And then he goes to space.
I think he does that before he dies.
No, I think he dies and then... Because heaven's like in space. Because you go up.
But I like Flash, but just like in the first movie, I like Flash. He doesn't have really a role in this.
He's a cameo.
And it's fine. But as someone who likes Flash, I wish it was more of the teen stuff. I wish it was more, Peter dealing with getting picked on in school and having trouble making friends and talking to girls, or getting to his classes and finishing his assignments and all that kind of stuff. But this movie cares more about the superhero stuff
Or the locations.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically
fine,
just want to
but
watch him take his math test.
I mean,
I want him to
I know that's a joke, but yes.
I want to watch him take his math test while, like, the Vulture is outside the school window.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just
Just
like,
staring.
okay, what do I do? Like, how do I do this?
There's a really good issue of Ultimate Spider-Man that I like, that the entire issue is just Peter trying to leave school to go stop a crime. But he keeps, like, running into people and encountering stuff that, like, he just can't leave. And I don't know. I like that kind of... I like the
friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yes, but I like the superhero alter ego balance kind of stuff. And it can get annoying in the comics, especially when it goes on forever but like, I don't know. I like all of his friends think he's a flake because he's always disappearing and canceling plans and stuff because he's got to go do stuff that's more important. But I like all that stuff. I like the keeping the identity secret from May, which I would admit in this movie with May being this young, his excuse was always before that May was so old that she'd just keel over dead if she found out, which is stupid. But like in this, like, there's not really a whole lot of reason. He's just like, if May found out, she'd freak in the first movie.
And I guess, like I said at the beginning, like, I like a Spider-Man story where May doesn't know, but MJ can know. Like, I like, it's one thing if Ned knows, great, whatever, or Gonky or whatever, like, a friend can know. But there's something more about, like, my girlfriend knows. And I think there's good story to be told there. But when everybody knows, then it kind of... It's not a secret identity. Like, what's he worried about now? Like, obviously not
when everybody knows.
And I say everybody as in, like, his best friend, all of his immediate surroundings. Even ignoring this post-credits where everybody knows, or, like, in Civil War in the comics when he reveals himself, like, what's the point of Peter dealing with his responsibilities and who he is and what his role is when May and his best friend and his girlfriend all know? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, I don't need to be home for dinner or, like, be home for this thing because my aunt knows exactly what's going on.
I can get out of this math test that I missed because I was robbing a bank because May can forge she can call the school and tell them that I was sick that day.
Yeah, and she's, like, she's an oracle. And I think that takes a lot of...
Tension?
When everybody knows, a lot of what makes Spider-Man interesting for me is gone.
I agree.
Yeah, you do.
Anything else we need to talk about? I mean, like I said, we kind of hit everything.
I will say something I wanted to touch on. I think the pacing is very bad.
I think the pacing is horrid, which is why I was able to pause it and take a phone call.
There's at the twist, which is like the halfway point of the movie, I knew that wasn't going to be, like, the fight scene before that, I knew it wasn't going to be the end, but it felt so long. And I was just like, there's got to be something else. And it just, like, the movie seemed to almost stop at that point. I was like, oh my God, I bet we have like an hour left. I bet that was only 45 minutes maybe.
How about after that scene happens and Quentin's like, let's go get a drink. And then Peter takes off his mask and walks into this bar with Mysterio, the superhero that just saved the city. And he just sits there. And he, like, drops the glasses on the floor.
Yeah. Which
I couldn't tell if that was part of their bit. And if it was, how that worked. That whole thing was... I
like the idea of, like, his helpers just being, like, a bunch of disgruntled Stark employees.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, maybe not that much.
I love that one of his helpers is Ralphie from A Christmas Story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the bald guy, William. That's Peter Billingsley.
That gets yelled at by Obadiah Stane?
Yeah, that's him.
Hey, good for him.
So when the drones put that laser on his forehead, I was worried that they would, shoot his eye out.
Shoot his eye out?
Yeah.
Good that we brought this guy on.
Yeah, I don't know. Their whole plan and their whole ruse is, like, complete and utter nonsense. And I think that's the other problem with having, like, a big, like, bait and switch plot that's full of, like, twists and turns, or, like, pieces need to fall into place. It's like Loki in the Avengers movie. Like, it doesn't all, like, what did they expect to happen? Good thing everything worked perfectly in their favor, because under no circumstances other than just pure happenstance would Peter have given those glasses to him. Like, this was their plan to get those glasses. They would have been better off just stealing them from him, and then, I don't know, they're all geniuses. They probably could have hacked into them. Peter hacked into a Spider-Man suit with his high school best friend.
Plus, I don't know. I feel like you don't need to do... I know there was more at play.
Yeah.
But I agree that I'm sure Jake Gyllenhaal could have just, like, made up another weird bar, like Phantom Bar, that Pete comes into, and he's just like, let me see the glass. Like, I know it's like an act, but like you said, I mean, I disagree that Peter seems like an idiot in this, but he's gullible and
Idiot is strong.
You can argue that he
comes off as foolish.
You can argue that he wants to, like, pass on his responsibility in this moment and be like, oh, these glasses aren't for me, they're for you. Like, you're a hero, you should do this. I don't know. It's hard to argue because, again, Quentin's whole thing is that, like, he's a showman and he's, putting on an act. And so it's not necessarily his MO to just steal it, maybe. He needs to fool somebody. He needs to have a ruse. But I agree that he could have just done that and then done the ruse. You know what I mean? Like... I don't know.
There's a lot of of crap in play that makes this all more complicated than it needs to be. And I like how when he does his whole reveal and then he like shows that he's the one that created the holographic tech from Civil War, and it cuts to him there and he's like, Tony called it barf and it made me angry. And then Tony fired him, which seems like a real dick move, but then he has like that one-liner is like, he said I was unstable. And I'm like, I know the movie wants me to be like, you are unstable, you're going to be a supervillain. I'm like, yeah, but like at what point did Tony decide he was unstable?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't see any of this. All we know is that those were words that Tony apparently said to Quentin. For all we know, Quentin was just like, you can't call this thing barf. I worked all my life on it. And then
Tony's like,
you know,
you're
threw
fucking
out a couple
unstable,
F
dude.
words. Yeah. And I don't know. It wants to be like, we can't have Tony be the dick that he actually is. We can't acknowledge it. And they also give like the origin where he's like, here's my origin, and then also here's Ralphie's origin, and we get a flashback to that, and then they go, the rest of these guys are all brand new, so I'm just gonna tell you what they did with no flashbacks.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I didn't want 10 minutes of flashbacks, but I will say it was nice to see like Obadiah, especially at the end of the Infinity Saga, to be like, hey, this Tony Stark yelled at me, and Obadiah Stane yelled at this guy, and then they're just like, fuck all these people. They're just here. We just picked them up along the way. And it's just kind of like, either do it or not.
Yes.
Like, commit or don't bother. I will say that you hate Tony Stark regardless. He annoyed me in the first Spider-Man, I think less than you. And I've already forgotten how much he annoyed me on the recent rewatch of mine. In this one, he annoyed me more, even though he wasn't in it.
You just didn't like all those paintings?
I didn't like all the
He's in the background of like every single scene.
I didn't like all of the I can't think of the word now, but like all the stuff with Happy, like, I don't know. Peter Parker doesn't need to be Tony Stark's protege. I know that's who he is in the movie universe, and that's what they're doing, and it's just like a thing I don't need Peter Parker to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need Happy to be like his superhero butler now, and I don't know, it takes him, like he says in the first movie, like he's just a kid from Queens. It takes him so far away from that. And it's just like, he's just another guy. He's just another guy who has a super identity. He's not just the kid from Queens who then is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He is superhero. He is like superhero guy and superhero man.
I like how also people know that at least 4 superheroes died reclaiming the world. Vision, Black Widow, Iron Man, and Captain America. Now, as far as we know, Captain America is still alive but old. But it's the world at large seems to have been told that he is dead. We don't know what anyone is told. I would assume that if everybody knows that Tony Stark sacrificed his life for everybody, that they would also learn that Black Widow also sacrificed her life. And I would say her sacrifice is even more important since hers was a literal choice of a sacrifice. For all we know, Tony thought he could probably live through that, and he just didn't. But she willingly threw herself off of a cliff to help everybody get one of the stones they needed.
I agree with what you're saying. However, I will say that I believe that Tony... I think Natasha...
I think he made an actual sacrifice. I'm just saying, compared to Natasha, Tony could have believed that he would live. Natasha's not going to believe she's going to get up from jumping off of the cliff.
Yeah. She like willingly and physically sacrificed herself. Whereas I think Tony...
My point is,
Tony knew
there's only paintings of Tony everywhere. In Peter's school, there's just like drawings of Tony on the wall. Maybe they just think everybody else didn't come back from the blip, but like they're like, Tony's dead. He died. Well, they knew Captain America came back from the blip because he was hosting those little how to move on seminars.
Yeah.
So everyone's just like, fuck Captain America, the symbol of the nation. Fucking super Elon Musk. Let's paint his face on everything.
How did Tony die?
He snapped his fingers.
Oh, yeah.
And he was so strong.
But he snapped him in space, didn't he?
No, he snapped him. That's what we thought it was. It looks like in space because it happens in the fucking wasteland of Thanos coming down and blowing up their Avengers base. But that's on Earth.
Okay.
Before we went into that movie, I was like, when do they go back into space? Because I remembered that final scene.
Yeah, plus like...
Anyway, the point is, no one remembers these other heroes except for a bunch of high schoolers who made some shitty
memoriam video with Whitney Houston. I don't know.
Comic Sans.
Do people know who Vision is? It's not like he's a personality.
Again, if there's a picture of him and these kids in high school know that he died, then I assume that they know that he was part of the Avengers team.
But like...
What they know, I don't know if he ever did talk shows or something, but he seems to at least have been known as a member of the team.
But like... Who's like my favorite hero's Vision? I like the Robot Man. You know what I mean? Like Tony Stark has a personality. Captain America has a personality. Natasha Romanoff, I have no idea. She's supposed to be some covert spy lady, but everyone knows who she is. So I guess that's all out the window. And I guess, I don't know, out of all the four that everyone's like, we miss you all, I'm just like, really, Vision? Vision was like, it never really seemed like he was in the public light.
Yeah.
He was just like...
Vision did two things. He showed up to fight...
Why didn't they put
Ultron.
Jarvis in there? Like, fuck it. Like, Jarvis died.
I think Jarvis is Vision. I mean, he's not, but he is.
Well, I guess, who's the other one? Friday?
Friday is still around.
Is she?
I think.
She died in his helmet, I'd assume.
You know what? I would assume that Friday is in the rescue suit. Is there a voice in the War Machine suit? Or is that one flying solo?
No, Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle has his
Don
own
Cheadle
voice. He
talks
voices,
to himself.
He voices...
Hey, it's
James
me, Don
Rhodey.
Cheadle.
James Rhodey wanted Don Cheadle to voice his robot.
I hope when we get to Armor Wars that is canonical.
There's a
tickle
Don
me.
Cheadle in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that's not Rhodey.
What if they got Cuba Gooding Jr. back to voice the
Oh,
suit?
yeah. You love to hear it. I mean, he has to have.
Wasn't Terrence Howard War Machine at first?
Oh, it's Terrence Howard, not Cuba Gooding Jr.
Wow,
I couldn't remember who it was. I couldn't remember who the fuck it was. He's in one movie and he doesn't do anything.
Is Cuba Gooding
maybe-
Jr. in any of these movies?
Maybe edit out this part of the podcast.
Nope, I'll leave it in.
Well, it was nice getting canceled with you boys.
Hey, like I said before, what you didn't hear because it's not live yet. If we get canceled, we made it. That's how you know you made it.
I honestly straight up forgot, and I was like, what the
You
fuck
said
is
it,
his
and I
name?
just
Is it
went
Cuba
with
Gooding?
you. And then when he said Terrence
I
Howard,
was like, it's the guy from
wait a
Cool
minute.
Runnings, right?
I loved him in radio. Anyways, it's nice to have J.K. Simmons back. He's a good J. Jonah
Yes.
Jameson.
He is a
I think
J. Jonah
I think he
Jameson.
really gets into him because they have the same first name, Jay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Like they just credit him as Jay as himself.
Hey, speaking of the credits, there's a guy named Peter Swords King.
That's a pretty good name.
I looked him up. Well, I didn't look up the name. I saw him in the credits, and then I looked him up because I was like, this can't be his name. Peter Swords King? Are you kidding me? Wikipedia says his name is Peter King, but he goes by Peter Swords King. But there's no information on why he goes by. I don't know if Swords was his mother's name, and he just didn't hyphenate it. But anyways, Peter Swords King, pretty baller.
I'm sure he's listening to the podcast. He can just call in and tell us what he's talking or why he goes by that name.
Yeah. Send us a message on this web zone and explain your name. But I don't know. I don't care about him flying Zendaya around and she's all like, wah! And then I don't really care about the Skrull thing. I assume that's for Secret Invasion. No, it can't be because they're... Oh, it's
maybe it's for Secret Invasion. I don't know what it is.
There was a Secret Invasion bit about... Well, maybe not. Maybe that was for the end credits where during the movie they're like, we can't... I thought people weren't supposed to know that there were subvert Skrull things. There was a throwaway line. And I assume that was referring to Secret Invasion. But maybe it was referring to the post-credits scene. But I guess... So that happened. And then my friend was like, what was that about? And I said... Dude, you were jumping in on movie 23 of 23 movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe history. And he's like, well, no, I saw some of them, but when did that happen? And I was like, I don't know. I don't remember why he was in space.
We never saw it.
And I guess that's it. And I guess, so we know Nick Fury was in space in Captain Marvel. And are we just to assume now that he never went back and just said, Talos, you do it. And I'm going to deal with this.
I think when Talos is in the car talking to, I think that's his wife.
Mrs. Talos.
He says a couple things about Tony Stark passing away and whatnot. I believe Fury was in space somewhere between the events of Infinity War and Endgame. Or at least during that 5-year gap.
I don't think so. He was dust.
Oh my god, he was. I forgot about that.
You're
right.
We're all just dust in the space.
Yeah, so when the fuck did he take? Because
I think in the 90s.
Said something about I had to tell him.
I think the biggest twist in this entire movie is that Nick Fury was a Skrull the whole time.
I wouldn't be surprised. But then because he seemed genuine. I think the whole reason that twist happened, outside of probably setting crap up, is to also explain how he was so easily fooled by Quentin and everything. Because he's not the real Nick Fury.
And how he could survive a
sniffed him out.
Missile to the chest?
Yeah.
Well, no, the last time we saw him in space was in the 90s.
Wait, what missile to the chest?
Remember when he gets like blown the fuck up? Oh, I guess maybe that's not a missile. That's like the air compressor.
But that's also fake. That's not really Fury.
Whoa.
That's all part of
Are you
Quentin's
saying that Mysterio fooled me, the viewer?
Yes.
It's so real. It's like a 4D movie. No, I think the last time we saw Nick Fury in space in 1996, and we never saw him leave. And so
we saw him go back. Yes, we did. We saw him at his desk.
Oh, did we? We saw him and not Talos?
Oh my god, if you're going to do this, I don't know why I even am here.
Did you know that in Avengers Age of Ultron, Nick Fury eats toast cut diagonally, or sandwich cut diagonally, which he said, as Nick Fury in Captain Marvel, that he does not eat. Had to have been a Skrull.
Pretty tricky. Pretty tricky.
Tricky Dicky.
Okay, I give it to you. He's been a Skrull the whole time.
We've all been a Skrull this whole time. It's great. Love it. Hate it.
Does that mean Maria Hill isn't a real person either? Is Maria Hill on that spaceship with them?
Maria Hill died in the events of the Kool-Aid Wars.
What?
I didn't have anything. That was it.
All right, we're moving to put up some put downs.
My first put up is the Kool-Aid Wars.
Zach, give us 2 put ups and a put down.
My first put up is I really liked the Stinger scene. Seeing J.K. Simmons back was really awesome. For my second put up, I really liked, I know this is kind of stupid and arbitrary, but there's that line where Flash is talking about how Spider-Man makes him want to be a better person. And then he turns to Peter and calls him a dickwad. I thought that was pretty good. As far as the put down goes, I would have to say that it is a pretty pointless movie.
Oh, you're just putting down the whole movie. Love it. I love to see it.
I loved the movie, and then I talked to you guys, and now I don't think I'll ever love again.
That's our superpower.
That's our job here. That's what we're really doing. We just want to prove that everyone who likes these movies is wrong. That's really it.
I just wanted to make you regret asking to come onto the show.
Well, you succeeded.
Didn't you invite him on the show?
I did.
And then forgot, and then needed to make it up?
Yeah, I'm just the afterthought.
You're just actually, we really wanted you on, so here, take this petty movie.
Yeah, take this one that we hate.
How cool would it have been? To be fair, Andrew hated I don't think this was any different than the first one. The problem is that we kind of said what we needed to say in the first one, and there wasn't really, this one is, I think, the most middle of the road. Like, for me, at least. And so, it just doesn't bring for good conversation.
Yeah, that's the best episode to have a guest on.
I know, is when we're all just like, anybody want to say anything? It was fine. It was good. I think it would have been good if you did the bit where we're all talking about Far From Home and you're talking about Homecoming. That's what you should have done.
I actually wanted to do a bit where I would talk about, so my favorite part of the movie is when he fought Bonesaw McGraw, and then, I would be like, oh, my favorite part is when he saves the train. I would just pick a favorite scene from a different Spider-Man movie.
Do you like the Sam Raimi movies?
They're okay. I haven't seen them in a long time. They're better than the Amazing Spider-Man. Those ones sucked.
No, those are amazing. We're talking about the original Spider-Man. No, Andrew hates the Sam Raimi ones, and I don't think either.
I hate them, but I have not seen them since,
I don't think anybody's seen them since they released.
I like the first Amazing movie, but I also have not seen that since it came out either.
I like Sam Raimi, and I am interested in revisiting the Raimi trilogy.
The original Spider-Man was actually the first DVD I ever bought.
With your own money?
Yes. I was a big boy.
I think that's crazy. I don't know if I could.
I know what my first Blu-ray was.
I think I know what my first CD was. And even that's a little iffy. But other than that, I don't know.
I know exactly what my first CD is, and it's not good.
Is it Goldfinger by...
Superman by Goldfinger?
Yeah, but the album's not called Superman. Hang-Ups? Is it called Hang-Ups by Goldfinger?
It was the Space Jam soundtrack.
Oh, even better. The Space Jam New Legacy. You bought your first CD 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I didn't want to miss the trend.
When CDs were... You know what? I think these have proven their point. I think they'll stand the test of time.
They're not going anywhere.
Why are you guys all buying digital media? You don't own it. What if the server goes down?
Anyway, Seth, what are your 2 put-ups and put-downs?
My first put-up is going to be Zendaya and Peter talking on the bridge. I don't know if some of it was just hey, they're finally doing teen stuff and kind of awkwardy teen stuff. And I don't know, I like MJ knowing. I like MJ knowing things instead of just Peter and Ned knowing
Instead
things.
of just...
My father, here's another tangent. My father-in-law building a house, and his contractor's name is Rodney, and he keeps complaining about Rodney. And every time he says Rodney, I'm just like, instead of me and Rodney knowing about it. But that's my first put up. My second put up is, I think I'm going to say it. And this is weird because I don't think I liked it watching the movie. But the Scarecrow scene, I think in hindsight was visually interesting, effective, weird. Like, it had a lot of nice things going for it. I don't think I liked it watching the movie, but as it stands now, I've forgotten what my second put up would have been. Maybe a fight scene or something. My put down is going to be Brad. I hate Brad, if that's his real name, because he was such a forgettable character. I feel like, why even bother with him? You know, like, he doesn't do anything. There's even the scene where he, like, catches Pete with his pants down, and he's like, and they have the moment where Peter's like, you can't send her that. And he's just like, I'm going to tell her the truth because I also love her. And then it's just like, none of this matters. And then the next scene you see with Zendaya, she's like, I hate this guy. I love you.
I mean, I'll agree that none of this matters in the broad
Don't
scheme
tell me
of
about
things.
Brad's role in the comics.
No,
I'm talking about the
no.
movie.
No, I'm just saying, him snapping that picture leads Peter to put on the glasses to call out the drone.
Yeah, it makes
To
a
shoot.
scene. It makes a...
Well, and it also, like, it sets up the drones and what Quentin's going to use it for. I'm not saying this is good. I'm just saying this is what the movie utilizes Brad for.
Right, and he should have been utilized for teen stuff.
I agree. I can't believe I just, like, semi-defended this. My first put-up is going to be also the Scarecrow scene. I honestly, like, I'm going to say Mysterio overall. I like his suit. I like his smoky helmet. I like the idea of him just using, like, tech. I love his, like, stupid, like, behind-the-scenes suit with the dumb bubble helmet that when he's just, like, walking on the bridge and everything. I like the idea of, like, making him work rather than having him be a special effects artist. He's a genius who created this holographic crap. I like the holograms and all that kind of stuff. And I really like that Scarecrow scene, even though I agree I liked it in the moment, but I also think it's completely unnecessary. It's just fun and it's kind of nonsense. But I think it looks cool. I think there's, like, some fun elements in it in that there's, like, you never know what's really around. And the movie doesn't play with it as much as I would like to, and I don't think logically, I could be wrong. I don't think when they were writing that scene, they actually wondered about where Peter was spatially. I think they just cared that at certain moments he fell, and certain moments he punched something
I
that
guarantee
either was
they
or wasn't
didn't care
there.
where he was.
But I would love to see the logic of that, because at the end, when he uses his spider sense, which I hated when they called it the Peter tingle, when he uses his spider sense at the end, you do kind of see him figure out where stuff is, and I thought that stuff was all really fun.
I think maybe it would have been interesting to see the brain, for lack of a better term, like brain illusions in those two scenes throughout the movie, instead of just, like, all crammed in this one Scarecrow sequence, and then at the end.
What do you mean, brain illusions?
Well, they're just different than Mysterio's, like, elementals.
Yeah. And a couple of those, like, during that scene also don't make sense, like where he's in a snow globe and stuff, and I was like, this is for the audience, not for Peter.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on from Peter's perspective here. But I think that scene's fun. My second put up is the scene where everybody talks about how much Iron Man sucks. And I was like, yeah, these are my people.
I join you, Jake Gyllenhaal. What can I can write the story.
I can write your dumb lines. But I like the scene where everybody talks about how shitty Tony Stark is. Unfortunately, I was supposed to think they were the bad guys, but in that moment,
You're like,
I
I
was
relate.
rooting for them.
I really relate to these people.
My put down is the entire third act. It's just so kind of tacked on because, like you said, the movie kind of ends with the elementals being defeated and then him giving the glasses. Like, the movie doesn't end, but it kind of ends and then it just kind of, like, stumbles around for a little bit so that we can get to that final act.
Him giving Jake Gyllenhaal the glasses almost resolves a better storyline than the actual movie does. Because, like you said,
it gives Peter an arc and he learns something about himself, but then the movie takes that away to have him become Iron Man 2.
When we talked about the length and the pacing, I thought back to Zach's text where he's like, I didn't realize how long this movie was, and I still have 45 minutes. And that would have been probably right about that time.
To be fair, 15 of those minutes were just the credits.
Do you remember what point it was in the movie when you texted us that?
Fuck, I don't remember.
Oh.
It is funny, though, because I saw that text at the end, because I put my phone face down and on silent, and I saw that, and I picked up my phone right when the credits started. I saw that, and Zach's like, hey, I didn't realize how long the movie is. I have 45 more minutes. And it said sent 45 minutes ago. I was like, yeah, that's the length of the movie, dude. Like, do you really think this was less than, like, an hour and a half?
It's been a while since I watched it. It felt a lot shorter in the theaters.
Fair point. I didn't have anything to say about it.
So get out of my face.
I'm not in your face. We're talking. Get out of my ear. So, Andrew, I put this at number 6. Underneath the Avengers, above Ant-Man. I've been putting everything kind of in the same 10 to 15 range, but I don't know. I can't say I hated this movie. I think there's problems with it. I'm not going to watch any of these movies again. I think Avengers, again, it has that meta reasoning that works really well for it. Spider-Man Far From Home just kind of felt like a spectacle for me, where it was fine enough to watch. If somebody wanted to watch it, or someone was going to put it on, I wouldn't be like, I don't really want to watch it. I would just like, okay, yeah, it's on. Sure.
Yeah, I put it in number 10, below Captain America the First Avenger and above Black Panther. I was the whole time thinking it was going to be lower, but like when I was looking at these other movies, I was like, I don't know. I think the fact that it's Spider-Man holds it back, but at the same time, I like Spider-Man. I really like Mysterio. I think there's a bunch of really fun scenes. I think its final act, while completely tacked on, is better than the final act of Black Panther, which is why it goes above Black Panther. But the rest of, like, out of the top 10, it's the one movie in my top 10 I would say I don't really like. Whereas the rest of them, like 9 and up, are all movies that I like. It's just different degrees of what I liked about them. But then, I guess also keep in mind this would technically be 9 because I have Black Widow in my list at 5.
Breaking the rules.
This is where I put my house cleaning.
Well, Zach, do you want to pitch anything? Do you want people to know where your ideas are?
Where to find you on your tweeters.
My Twitter. Yeah, I have to actually look it up, though, because I don't know it off the top of my head.
It is @SNES Chalmers.
Isn't there an underscore?
CHALME. I always thought there was an underscore, but there's not.
There was, and then I changed it because somebody...
somebody impersonated you.
Okay,
yeah.
So I wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
Because I tried to tag you once on something, and I was typing it on my PlayStation. I don't remember what it was. I posted a picture of something. It didn't tag you, and I was like, what? It doesn't he have the underscore? And then I looked, and there was no underscore, and I was like, why did I think there was an underscore?
I don't know how dumb that was.
So at least I'm not crazy.
Sure.
But yeah, if you want to watch him talk about a bunch of wrestling stuff and then have your Twitter feed get all wrestling focused.
I'm your man.
I was telling Seth, I sent him something Kamen Rider related. I think it was for the new Kamen Rider series. And he's like, yeah, I saw that on Twitter earlier. And I was like, is like being Twitter friends with me, like being Twitter friends with Zach, where like you just get a bunch of Kamen Rider stuff, just like Zach suddenly gets me a whole bunch of wrestling stuff.
I was like, I get wrestling from Zach too.
For a while, you were getting kind of into it. You were asking me about Asuka all the time.
I mean, I follow Asuka now. I follow Asuka and that other wrestler that dresses like a pirate.
Oh, she doesn't wrestle for WWE anymore. Kairi Sane?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, she's cool.
I used to watch the Ultimate Warrior Hulk WrestleMania once a year in like high school and college. Because that's
weird.
Dumb. I don't know, man. It's all dumb. It's so dumb when he goes into a fit of Hulkamania and just like, I don't know, dude. Why is that weird?
Hulk Hogan's awful.
Well, yeah. I didn't know it then.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't.
I don't watch it now. I'm just trying to connect with you and say that I understand what wrestling is.
Stop trying to relate to me.
Don't worry. One time I drew One Piece things for Seth and he yelled at me and told me I'm not allowed to do that. So no one's allowed to like each other's things. But if anyone wants to like Kamen Rider, go for it. I just want friends.
Thanks for hanging out with us. If you like this, tell a friend. If you didn't, then lie to a friend. Check us out on Twitter @SoHowAbout. You can find me on Twitter @SethKumpf. You can find Andrew on Twitter @TessuDownist. And subscribe to us on YouTube @SoHowAbout.
And join us next time when we do this once more with Interference.
Watcher.
Seth, now that the mics are off, what are we watching next
Well,
week?
Andrew, I'm glad you asked because we're not going to watch anything next week. We're going to take a little break, but we should be back with WandaVision the week after, which I don't know when this gets posted, so I don't know when that is, but we'll take a week off and then we'll come back with WandaVision, in which I assume we're going to watch both Wanda's solo movie and Vision's solo movie.
Cool beans.
And Zach won't be here. And Joe won't be here. And Uatu will be here, but he'll never interfere if he knows what's good for him. Same thing with Joe and Zach. We hate people with 3-letter names. Get out of here.
Am I supposed to not be recording anymore?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.